Fellas, AC here. Welcome to another video. 2 videos in a day. Now, this subject is an important one. And basically, it was triggered by one of my very good friends, Rohit. He said to me that in India, this is income tax filing period. And he would really appreciate a video like this. And also, I see comments from people when they watch my reviews. They leave a comment by saying, we've been making a note of all the fragrances you recommend, and the list is growing too long. So I want to make a video on this subject about how not to get into debt because of fragrances, and I have practiced what I'm preaching. So till 2018, because of my large collection, I was spending substantial amount of money in buying fragrances. And as a reviewer, you have to sample, so I was buying a lot of samples. In fact, I bought a lot of samples today. And you constantly put money into this money pit, and it's really a money pit. So here are some lessons that I have learned and which I use. So what did I do in 2019? Number one, I didn't spend a single penny, not one penny, and in 2019. And you've seen the number of niche haul videos I've done this year. So I'll tell you all about it. So number one, I'll start with the golden rule, the rule that I have practiced all my life, and now I'm practicing it even more. Whenever you get the urge to put money onto the credit card, speak to yourself and say, I don't want to afford it. It's very simple. I do not wish to afford it. It's very empowering. Instead of saying, I cannot afford it, you are saying, I do not wish to afford it. You taking the power in your hands and saying, in spite of the fact that I can really afford it, I do not wish to. Because it's just going to bulk up my debts. Number one, that's a golden rule. You take power in your hands and you willfully forego. Right? Why do you need to forego? So that's the number two. Why do you need to do this? It's very easy. This will become a money pit. Soon you will end up with 100, maybe 200 bottles, and that's a money pit. Why? Because the money has been soaked up by these 200 bottles, which is sitting on your shelf, and that's cash which you're not using. You might argue that, yeah, I'm spraying it, but 102 or 200 bottles, it's just sitting there. It's a money pit. So why do you want to throw money into the money pit? Is the important point. That's why you need to say to yourself that there's only so much I can wear. And when I'm not wearing it, or if I haven't worn it for a long time, I should be selling it off. That mentality, it takes a bit of time to cultivate. I did this, and now I'm far happier. So what do? What did I change in 2019? In 2019, I promised myself, New Year's Day, I will not spend a single penny on fragrances this year. End of. But I'll still go and explore. I'll still go and buy. I'll still, I really want to experience, because that's a joy that fragrance gives to me. So what did I do? I learned to decant. I went on to eBay. I created a shop and I started selling decants. And soon I was able to raise enough money to buy a brand new camera. And this camera is not cheap. And all the fragrances that I bought in 2019. From the money that was stuck into those bottles. I'm not saying you follow this example, but what I'm trying to tell you is I have found an innovative way of squeezing money out of that money pit and reuse it instead of putting money into that money pit. Don't do that. Stop it. The other way I can recommend is, if you're not wearing something, if you've gone off something, sell it. There's eBay, there's Facebook, there's so many forums where you can really sell a fragrance off, and then whatever money you get, you invest into a new bottle. That way, you're basically not injecting new cash. You're basically using the same cash to cycle the fragrances. Number 4 point I want to talk about is decants. See, there is no better way to enjoy fragrances than decants. I'll show you. I go and buy decants now, even now, in spite of being a reviewer and on Instagram. The only problem with decants is you will not be able to show them off on Instagram. Yeah, but that's fine. big deal. You've got other bottles to show off. I'll tell you, I've recently bought 4 or 5 decants. Look, I love Creed's Royal Oud, but I don't want to afford a full bottle and the full presentation. So I got a 40 ml decant, yeah, in a cheap looking bottle. I won't be able to showcase this on Instagram. Who cares? When I do a top 10 list, this will look tacky. Who cares, right? You guys trust me. So that's what I do. You can do it too. You can get decants, you know. This is another one, a beautiful fragrance by Frederic Malle. It's French Lover. I love to wear this fragrance in autumn. I know that I won't be able to finish 5 ml, but I went and got myself 5 ml. This autumn, it will be enough, and probably it will last me until next autumn. So 5 ml, French Lover. Do this. You don't have to own bottles of very expensive fragrances because it's bigger, soak pit of money. Same thing here, 10 ml. I can't remember which one this is. I'll figure out when I spell it. I cannot remember. It's probably a Xerjoff. But point I was trying to make is very expensive fragrances. If you want to show off on Instagram, there's a good reason for that. But if you don't want to show it off, you can buy small decants. That way you get to enjoy absolutely everything that you think you should be enjoying without investing huge chunks of money. Now, advice for people who don't live in Western countries or don't have the infrastructure that we have here in Europe. I was speaking to my friend Tarek. He's from Egypt yesterday. And I asked him, I said, Tarek, what happens? Because he was telling me that he was going to blind buy wild fruits, Mancera, that I reviewed yesterday. And I asked him, I said, Tarek, what happens if you do not like the fragrance you bought? He said, either I keep it or I give it to my son. So I could guess that the infrastructure isn't there in his country to return a fragrance. For example, here in the UK, there's 14 days, no questions asked. If you don't like something, you just send it back. It's complete peace of mind. But that infrastructure is not available in some countries. So what do you do there? Again, I would highly request you to figure out from your seller. If you're buying online, that facility may not be there, but there must be a seller in your local vicinity where you can do a trade arrangement by saying, okay, if I don't like something, I'll bring it to you, you can sell it off, and in return, you can give me something that I like. That sort of thing. All you have to do is find out innovatively how not to let your fragrance collection become a sort of a soak pit of money, just sitting there, yeah? Because there will be 20% of the fragrances that you buy, there'll be 20% you don't like, or you grow out of it. That's why I always, in my review, mention that this is a linear fragrance and you'll get bored of it. That's the whole reason. So that's for people, that's for countries where there isn't that infrastructure. As they say in English, where there's a will, there's a way. Even if you live in a country where there's not that infrastructure available to you to trade or cycle fragrances, find out. There must be some way for you to not let a fragrance which you don't like sit on your shelf and just soak up all the money. So that's the 6th, I believe. I don't know, I've lost count. But these are the strategies I think have helped me. These are the strategies which will help you. But the rule number 1 is the most important one. I've learned it and I've practiced that rule in every walk of my life. What I say to myself is, I do not want to afford it. And I've done it in many things, just not fragrances. Sometimes I get this itch to go and buy a new car. My car is doing perfectly well. But sometimes I feel, let me upgrade my car. But I have realized one thing, no matter how much, money you have or don't have, the real difference that is made is when you take the power in your own hands and say, listen, I don't want to afford it. It'll give me a few months of joy. It'll give me a little bit of bragging rights. But that's about it. But who's going to suffer the pain of having to repay that loan? Me. I don't want to go put myself through that pain. So at the end of the day, it's you taking control and saying, although I can afford it, but I don't want to. It's not me. It doesn't define me. What defines me is my real soul, my real work, my real thoughts, not what I wear, not what I drive. That doesn't define me. Although our society is very much like that, but you can stand and look different. You can be brave enough to say, I'll look different. I don't care. So those are the points I think I wanted to make. What this is going to do is whatever strategy you choose, I've chosen all these. Yeah, I've tried all these apart from the last one because I don't have that infrastructure issue here. But all the strategies I've discussed with you, I've tried it this year. It's very current. Practiced it. I'm much happier. Didn't spend a penny on fragrances this year. Don't intend to spend a single penny on fragrances next year. So it's going to be a routine now for me. I will never spend a single penny on fragrances. Whatever has been spent will be recycled again and again. So hopefully this has helped you. And this sort of mental discipline and, just taking a stand is going to help you. I hope this video was of help. And if you have any more suggestions or any other things, I'm more than happy to do a video for that. Take care. Bye-bye.